What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Alright, so we are going to continue our coverage over Charles Soule Daredevil. And matter of fact, we do pick up with Volume 2 of his run. Now, Volume 2 has multiple stories inside of it, so we are only covering the first story arc. Now, this is a two-part story arc that brings Elektra back into the life of Daredevil, except when she comes back, she does mention the idea that she's looking for her daughter. Is there a possibility that Daredevil and Elektra have a daughter together out there in the world? And so getting into today's story arc, we do pick up with Daredevil. Now you have Matt just out in the open in the middle of the city being Daredevil at 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting for somebody. Now, we already know who he is waiting for. It's no other than Elektra, except he thought it would be a nice peaceful meeting, except it's not going to be like that, because out of nowhere, she begins to attack him. And he's kind of wondering why in the world is Elektra coming after him for? He thought it would be a peaceful meeting. And so we have to jump back in time where we pick up with Matt Murdock in court. Now, something you have to remember when it comes to Charles Soule's run on Daredevil, Matt Murdock is no longer trying to defend people. He now works for the district attorney office. And so his main goal is to lock people away. Now, while in the middle of a trial case, he does detect Elektra in the room. Now, we also have to remember something else here, that something happened between Mark Waid's run and Charles Soule run, because now the entire world has forgotten that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. The only person who remembers is Foggy Nelson, and he tells us Elektra also does not remember that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and so that means she knows both men but as separate people. But apparently she came here for a special reason. Now, as soon as Matt is able to leave the courtroom, when he walks by Elektra, she calls out his name. But getting back over to the present day, we pick up with Matt Murdock continuing to fight against Elektra. Now, Matt is not trying to fight against Elektra. He is trying to talk to her to figure out why in the world is she coming after him for. And the thing is, she's not telling him. Instead, it's her saying, you know what you did. You know why I'm coming here after you for. Now, while you have the two characters fighting against each other, you have Blind Spot appear. Now, remember, around this time in Marvel Comics, Daredevil had a sidekick. He was actually training Blind Spot to become his own hero. And so Blind Spot tried to use his own ability, the idea of being invisible, as a way to attack Elektra. But Elektra is a trained fighter, a trained warrior, a trained ninja. And so she was able to figure out what in the world is going on when you have Blind Spot trying to attack her. And she was able to break his arm and remove him from the battle and says, hey, I took care of your sidekick. I can kill him off if you are not going to step up here. And so you have Matt tell Blind Spot, go find the night nurse. Leave her for me to handle. And so we jump back in time and we see Matt Murdock and Elektra having dinner with one another. Now, this dinner is really a nice, calm dinner, but we do get confirmation that she has no idea that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. To her, there are two separate people. And the thing is, it seems to me personally, she fell in love with both men, both Daredevil and Matt Murdock. And so this is her coming to Matt saying, hey, listen, I know it has been a while since you and I talk, but I need to ask you a favor. I need to talk to Daredevil. And so you have Matt say, yep, she does not remember, but I will go out of my way to pretend that I do know Daredevil, and I'll tell her that he will meet up with her later on tonight. And so you have the two characters go their separate ways. And that leads us right back over to the present day. But Matt Murdock realized the only way to show Elektra that he wants to help her is to not fight against her, to let his guard down, to let her attack him any way possible, to just show that he is trying to talk to her, to understand her. And so after a while, she backs off and she says, you know what you did. You know why I'm here for. You know that you have done something with my daughter. And you're left to wonder, hold up, wait a second. When in the world did Elektra have a daughter? But on top of that, is that kid hers and also Matt Murdock's? Now, when it comes to Matt Murdock, he cannot believe what he just heard. The idea that Elektra has a daughter, because now he's wondering in the possibility if he is the father. Now, when it comes to Matt, he tells Elektra, you don't have a daughter. But she really believes that she does have a daughter. And so when it comes to Matt Murdock, when he tells her that, she freaks out and she continues to attack him. Now, when it comes to Matt, he understands, hey, if I want her to understand that I'm here to help her, I cannot fight back. I have to show her that I am here to help, not here to attack her. And so once she does calm down after beating down on Matt Murdock even more, once again, she does explain the supposed origin of her daughter. Now, when it comes to the origin of Iona, you're kind of left to wonder in the possibility of this actually being a real person, because what she tells us, the readers, that when she was in America spending time with Matt Murdock, everything was going great for her. Now, unfortunately, she had to leave, and that began her training with Stick, the same person that had trained Matt Murdock down the road. Now, when it came to Elektra being trained by Stick, apparently she was pregnant the entire time, but she knew that she could not raise a child in her life with her becoming an assassin, and so she told Stick to give the child over to a foster family. And every once in a while, I'll check in to see how she is doing. But apparently the last time she checked in, the daughter was taken away. Now, when it comes to Matt Murdock, he begins to wonder, okay, is there a possibility that this Iona child is mine? Because you are now talking about the idea of spending time with Matt Murdock when everything was going great in your life, and then you had to leave. And when you got there, you were pregnant, which means Matt Murdock is most likely the father. Now, the only evidence that Elektra has that her daughter has been taken is on a cell phone, a video that's on a cell phone that was given to her. Now, remember, she has no idea that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and so she has no idea that Daredevil is blind. And so he tells her that he'll look into it to see if he's able to figure out who actually took her daughter. And so you have Matt Murdock go over to Foggy Nelson, because like I said earlier, Foggy is the only person left in the entire world that knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. But on top of that, Foggy can look at the phone to see, is there any kind of evidence that can help Matt Murdock to figure out if Elektra's daughter is real, but also taken. Now, when he tells Foggy, hey, listen, I need you to look at the phone to tell me anything possible to help out Elektra because she's looking for her daughter, you have Foggy also wondering, hey, is this child yours? But Matt does not have a solid answer yet. Now, when it comes to Matt and Foggy, they're not really on good terms because Foggy hates the idea of what Matt did, making sure the entire world had forgotten that he was Daredevil, but he made sure that Foggy did not forget. And for Foggy, that's not okay at all. He believes that he deserves the idea to also forget. It's too much for him to handle the whole burden of knowing the true identity of Daredevil. But after a while, he tells Matt, okay, I looked through the phone and I want to tell you, there's nothing on here at all. Now, before you have Matt Murdock go meet up with Elektra, he calls to check in on Blindspot, who's still in the office of the night nurse. Now, she answered the phone and she's kind of questioning the idea of Matt having a sidekick. because you are talking about the idea of having a young child be your sidekick in the life you live, the idea of fighting against some crazy villains like Elektra, who had just broken his arm. She could have done a whole lot worse, but she was being nice. Now, when it comes to Matt, he also realized that Blind Spot needs a job when he's not being Blind Spot. And he says, hey, listen, I need you to call up Matt Murdock and he can possibly offer you a job at the district attorney office to just file some papers. But at least they'll give you some money to buy you food and groceries at the moment. But then you have Matt go meet up with Elektra. Now, when he does, it's really her thinking that, okay, he is on my side, which means he can help me find my missing daughter. Except you have Matt tell Elektra, listen, I looked through the phone. I double checked. There's nothing on here. Elektra, I fear in the possibility you don't have a daughter at all. Now, Elektra is really pissed in the idea that Matt even said that. But now she's kind of wondering in the possibility that he is right. And so she leaves. But you have Matt say, you know what? Let me follow her to get a better idea of what is exactly happening here. And she runs back to the guy who had actually handed her the phone, but also told her, we have taken your daughter. Now, this guy is freaking out, which tells us he is just a pawn in this entire scheme that's going against Elektra, but also Daredevil as well. But when it comes to this guy, he says one single phrase, the tangle web we weave. And as soon as he says that, it unlocks the true memory of Elektra, where she remembers that she had no daughter, that she never did even come close to having one. And so now she knows there was somebody out there who was trying to play mind games with her. They wanted her to feel what it is like to lose a daughter, to lose a child. And so now Elektra is very upset. She wants to find the person that did that to her. But when it comes to Daredevil, he says it was not an attack against her. It was an attack against me. And I know who did it. But he's not telling us. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.